Now, China does not, it appears, want to accept the blame for the origins of the coronavirus pandemic. Now, the suffering across the world has been too great. So far, at least about 1.8 million people have been infected. The deadly virus is also claimed almost about 118,000 lives. Now, history will, of course, look at the origins of this virus, and China, of course, knows that. So China is intensifying its attempt to try and control the narrative. It is trying to do everything it can to prove that COVID-19 did not originate in Wuhan. Now, in the latest measure that's been adopted by the Chinese administration, it appears that the authorities are demanding to review scientific research papers that are being written on the pandemic within China. Now, 2 Chinese universities put up the government circular on their websites to inform researchers about this new rule. But mysteriously, these pages were later taken down. However, media outlets have been able to access the online cache of these pages that had been first put up by these universities. Now, the message to the researchers is pretty clear. If you're involved in any study related to COVID-19, then you have to follow the government's guidelines and instructions. Now, for instance, the Fudan University received a circular from the Ministry of Education in China, and the note quite clearly states that papers related to the virus tracing should be managed strictly. Now, this notice has now been removed from the university's website. The notice to the Chinese University of Geosciences is even more explicit. The circular came from the Ministry of Science and Technology across the world. A research paper is usually published on the basis of facts and analysis, but in the case of China, it appears the Ministry of Science and Technology is concerned directly whether the paper on COVID-19 is suitable for publication. Now, what the ministry essentially means is this, that the research paper should not harm the image of the People's Republic of China. The notice comes with a warning that research on the pandemic can only be published after a clear review by the Chinese administration. Now, on the 3rd of April, the Ministry of Science and Technology had issued the very first of its directives on monitoring the COVID-19 research. The note said that all ongoing clinical research on the coronavirus must be reported to the authorities within 3 days or should be halted. The ministry seems to have received its orders right from the top. As early as March, the ministry had published an essay reviewing President Xi Jinping's view on how to carry out research on the pandemic. Now, here's what the essay says, and I quote here: coordinate virus tracing and its research on the means of transmission to find out where the source of the disease came from and where it is going. Now, China has put its state machinery pretty hard at work to erase public opinion that the virus had for the very first time emerged from the wet market in Wuhan. Now, China has even taken the help of its top respiratory expert, Zhong Nanshan, who had led the effort against the SARS outbreak in 2003. Now, in the month of March, Zhong Nanshan had said that there is no evidence at this point of time to show that COVID-19 originated in Wuhan. He also said that it is, at this point of time, irresponsible to jump to a conclusion without getting the facts straight. But Lijian Zhao, China's foreign ministry spokesperson, shared a research article on Twitter which claims that the virus may have originated in the United States. Now, this, of course, had led to a slugfest between the United States and China. US President Donald Trump even chose to call the virus as the Chinese virus. Now, the Chinese officials have been protesting such a name-calling pretty much everywhere. China even clamped down the whistleblowers during the initial outbreak. Li Wenliang, an eye doctor, had been summoned by the police for a stern takedown. He had warned his fellow doctors to take care as a virus that he claimed was very similar to the manner in which SARS had broken out in the previous decade was perhaps doing the rounds. Now, Li Wenliang later succumbed to this deadly virus himself. The head of emergency at the Wuhan Central Hospital had disappeared in the month of March. Apparently, at the time of the outbreak, authorities had stopped her from telling the world about COVID-19. But the question, of course, is why is China carrying out an exercise that is this massive? Well, it appears it's all about managing the country's perception on the global stage. It is still unclear as to what has happened during the initial weeks of the outbreak, The pandemic has, of course, become a sort of a blemish in terms of how China was able to manage an outbreak of this nature. And the officials are trying very hard to now wash it off.